And so finally, we have Bannerman Energy with the ticker code BMN, the ASX ticker code, rather. So Bannerman Energy is an Australian-based uranium development company focused on the very well-established uranium jurisdiction of Namibia with their Etango project. So to tell you more about the company, we have Executive Chairman Brandon Munro. Good afternoon, Brandon.
Hi, Jane, and hi again to everyone out there. Thanks for sticking with us this long. Bannerman's a very exciting story, so I'm really pleased to be able to share it with you. This is a presentation that's on our website, so I'm going to race through it because we don't have a lot of time, but I'd really encourage you to come back to this presentation on our website to get a little bit more depth into our company. What makes Bannerman so different? Well, look, first of all, as Jane said, we have our flagship Etango uranium project in Namibia. It is one of the world's most advanced and largest uranium developments. It's strongly de-risked over a long period of time. A very high degree of technical work has been completed, including the operation of a pilot plant over several years. We now have a clear pathway to development because the project is fully permitted. That is the holy grail when it comes to uranium projects, as we've heard from some of our other commentators. And that means that we're very well positioned as this market enters this next contracting cycle to lock in value for the long term for shareholders. Quick company snapshot. We've got about a $600 million market capitalisation. Now, 100 million of that is cash. We're exceptionally well positioned right now. Very strong board and management team that I'll talk to you about. And you can see that we are now starting to achieve a bit more momentum in our share price after coming off with the rest of the sector, as Guy mentioned at the beginning. And no debt either, so very strong balance sheet. So what are the investment highlights for Bannerman? Well, first of all, operating in Namibia is a huge advantage, particularly for a development project, and I'll touch on that. We've got an excellent delivery team that I'll introduce you to. As I said, it's fully permitted. That is the holy grail of uranium mining. Strong technical and commercial viability via a definitive feasibility study that's recently been upgraded. And it's a very conventional mine. It's open cut at surface, very low stripping ratio through to very low cost heap leaching, which has been subjected to a demonstration plant over a long period of time. And we're doing things correctly. We're doing things the right way, which has earned us a strong social license to operate. Namibia has been producing uranium for more than 45 years. It has a government that is sophisticated, that doesn't jump at shadows, that understands the business of uranium well, and also has a local community who not only tolerate, but rather embrace and endorse uranium mining for its long-term benefits over such a long period of time. We'll also be the fourth uranium mine coming into Namibia, so there's a lot of expertise that we can draw on. Great country. I've lived there for more than 5 years myself, so I can attest to its security, safety, and it's a great tourist destination as well if you're thinking about where your next holiday should be. We've now established a premier executive team that is more than capable of building this project and building it well. Most important to that team is Gavin Chamberlain, our recently appointed CEO. If you followed me in this sector before, you'd recall that I've been CEO of Bannerman for more than 8 years and now moved to executive chair role so that we could introduce an absolute gun in to lead this project through construction and into operation. And that gun is Gavin Chamberlain, based in Cape Town. So he's a 2-hour flight from our project, and 30 years of deep experience in infrastructure and mining developments in Southern Africa. Most recently and relevantly, he built the Husab uranium mine in Namibia. That's still the largest uranium mine in Africa, and at its point, it was the largest capital spend on any mining project at the time in Africa. So what he's now charged with building for us is literally an order of magnitude simpler than what he successfully built for CGN Mining, the Chinese giant at Husab. Steve Hurley, he's our CFO. He's come from an exceptional operating company background, brings deep experience in mining, and that's crucial as we start to unroll everything from ERP, IT systems right through to HR. Olga Skolyakova is our VP Market Strategy. She's deep in the nuclear industry more generally. She was at World Nuclear Association for 7 years, and she's done everything in this sector from that type of experience, modeling the global supply and demand of uranium through to selling enrichment into the US. So an incredible depth of understanding of current issues facing the sector, and as you would expect, with such a long history and exceptional network. Werner Evalt's our managing director in country. He's been with us since 2010, very well regarded in country. He was mining manager at the Rossing uranium mine, and as a result of that brings a depth of experience in exactly the type of mining that we will be doing. And finally, Mike Leach, who's non-executive both in Namibia and in Australia. He was the managing director of the Rossing uranium mine when that was the largest uranium mine in the entire world. That is a team that can build a Etango, that can deal with all of the execution risks that investors should be focused on, and should give you, as it does our own board, a huge amount of confidence as we move into the next step. I mentioned it's fully permitted. The feasibility study work that we've done on this project over several years now has been upgraded after the completion of front-end engineering and design. So to get your eye in here, our initial project development will be 15 years. At 8 million tonnes per annum, that will produce 3.5 million pounds. The cash cost is very competitive at $35 a pound. All-in sustaining cost is under $40 a pound, and the capital cost for such a big project is very reasonable at $353 million US, which we're already busy spending on at the moment. Excellent price upside. This project is regarded as the most leveraged of any of the uranium investments on ASX. And when you look at these types of numbers, you'll understand why. I'd encourage you to go back to our website and have a closer look and just digest what some of these post-tax NPV numbers are. And that's just to $95 a pound. I suspect people are on this webinar because they do expect this next uranium cycle to deliver substantially higher than that. And of course, that goes straight to our bottom line. Now, in addition to the 15-year initial development of Etango, we have two alternative development pathways. The first one is called Etango XP, and we released a study on these earlier in the year. XP stands for expand. That's where we go from 3.5 million pounds to 6.7 million pounds. That makes us a top 10 uranium mine in the world. Now, the alternative is we don't reinvest and we simply keep delivering 3.5 million pounds out to initially a 100 million pound or 95 million pound pit shell. And that's called Etango XT, that stands for extent. We have an ore body that's more than 200 million pounds. So we've got the size and the scale to keep delivering at this project, either at 3.5 million pounds or 6.7. That decision will be made based on market factors. And as investors, if our price targets prove to be even remotely accurate for this sector, then you can expect us to optimize the leverage that we would gain from the expansion scenario. Again, some numbers as to what that leverage really looks like. For example, if we take post-tax NPV at $95 a pound, we've got a US dollar NPV of over 900 million. As you can expect, as you move into three figures, that figure starts to expand very, very rapidly. So finally, that's a shot of our demonstration plant that we've run since 2014. It means we will hit the ground running. Commissioning has already been largely de-risked because of the work that we've done in this demonstration plant. I mentioned that it's very conventional, and that's a big advantage for us as we now move into the contracting phase in this sector. We do sustainability exceptionally well. We have a very positive impact both locally and globally. And we're now at the point where we are progressively constructing this project. We've called it the phased green light approach. We want to keep moving forward on this project, but we're being extremely careful to maintain absolute control over the timing and the spend rate. With $100 million in cash, there's a lot that we can do on the project, but we're also mindful that entering into financing and long-term contracts must be at a time that is of our choosing. And that's what enables us to ensure that we can capture an appropriate amount of shareholder value as this cycle starts to expand. We don't want to paint ourselves into a corner where we have to jump at term contracting that might not be as attractive as this market suggests it will need to be. So a couple of photos. That's our completed road to the highway. Some more roadwork constructions. That's our temporary water pipeline and reservoir, which has been completed already. That gives you an idea of the landscape that we're dealing with. So it's a very simple operating environment, very simple construction, and that's the base camp that the bulk earthworks contractor is setting up. So in final slide, in terms of the roadmap to production, you can see the items that we're working on at the moment. The next step, once we've achieved a final financing solution, is to continue with some of the additional aspects of construction. That would see us in production at some point in 2027, selling our first uranium likely in 2028, and that's £3.5 million, looking towards an expansion decision towards the end of this decade. Thanks for tuning in. It's a great story. Please follow me and see what else you can learn about the company at our website.
Brandon, thank you so much for the great presentation. I think last time you were here was a few years ago, and you've definitely, pushed everything out, which has been phenomenal. Okay, and so can you speak a little bit more about Namibia? I know you showed some great photos there, but for the attendees that aren't on the call who potentially don't understand enough about the jurisdiction, can you just tell us about some maybe the challenges you've overcome or the way that the mines department works? Just a little bit more background, perhaps.
Yeah, Namibia it's a small country. There's only 2.5 million people, but it does have a sophisticated mining sector. It's together with tourism and agriculture, it's the largest contributor to the country. So mining is very well accepted in Namibia. It's an environment, as you can see, that tolerates mining very well, and it has excellent infrastructure to support mining. To be frank, the main challenge that I have is talking to investors who perhaps have a very homogenous view of Africa. And sometimes that view gets a bit more informed by, let's say, Hollywood than by their own research. Namibia is at the absolute best end of what is a diverse continent. So Africa is everything from what you've seen on TV through to Namibia and Botswana. It's easier to get things done in Namibia than it is in Australia. The operating environment's excellent. There's a deep talent pool that we can draw from. It's a safe country. It's secure. It's been politically stable since it became independent 30 years ago. I lived there with my family and small kids for more than 5 years, and I never even had a car broken into. It was just an absolute pleasure to go there and to return there. So it's a big thumbs up for developing anything in Namibia, but in particular uranium, which is so well endorsed by the local community and the government.
I can actually attest to that. My first site visit 18 years ago was to Namibia. So yes, I definitely agree with that as well. So just next one, what are some of the key criterion milestones that investors should be looking out for that FID with the Etango?
So we are continuing to develop the project, as I said. So we'll be releasing progressive news to the market about those different development milestones and those construction milestones. The financing from here, we've told the market that we are looking to complete FID during first half of 2025. And the types of milestones that we'll be watching carefully are the development of the long-term contracting cycle and what opportunities that throws up for us, as well as progress that we're making on a strategic financing route that we've been undertaking for about a year now.
Wonderful. And just finally, I know we've taken a lot of people's time, but what role do you think Etango can play in meeting that future demand, given the supply-demand balance that we were discussing earlier in the panel?
Well, first of all, it's the pounds themselves, £3.5 million in the right market going to £6.7 million. But more importantly, Etango is totally unaligned at the moment. We don't have any offtake. We don't have any strategic investors. So that gives us ultimate flexibility to sell to any country in the world that has nuclear power demand. And that's the real benefit of being in Namibia. Namibia sits outside the various geopolitical tensions. So we can sell to the world's biggest current market, which is the US. We can sell into Europe. We can sell into the world's biggest growth center, which is China, and everyone in between. So that's what makes the real difference for our project. These pounds are economic, they're available in the short term, and we can optimize that position of flexibility that Namibia enjoys.
Wonderful. Well, Brandon, thank you for joining us today. It's a great story, and
Pleasure.
I encourage everyone to reach out to Brandon if they've got any other further questions. But thanks again.
Thanks, Jane.